The Spanish FR-8 looks like some kind of gas-operated bolt-action rifle. It's not. That's merely a cleaning kit.
The Spanish FR-8 is really a stopgap measure. It, along with the FR-7, were developed in the 1950s when Spain was moving towards the SETMA rifle in 7.62 NATO. They couldn't get enough SETMAs to arm all of their armed forces at once, and so they reached back into the stocks and turned those into the FRs, which is Fusil Reformado, which means a converted rifle.
So you're looking at what appears to be a bolt-action Mauser that's somewhat shorter than normal. The FR-8 had the straight bolt handle that went straight out from the side, unlike the FR-7, which had the turn-down handle. And the FR-8 also had what appeared to be a gas tube under the barrel that went from a lug on the barrel back to the end of the fore-end. Well, it wasn't a gas tube. It was a tube that was designed to hold cleaning supplies, and it could be released by simply pressing a button and removing it from the gun. On the end of that tube was also a bayonet lug that held the bayonet that also then would be used on the SETMA rifle.
Now, these rifles were then issued for mounted units in the mountains and were used for quite a few years on into the 1970s, and then an American picked up on this idea as for the scout rifle. And this is the genesis of the concept of a little short bolt-action scout rifle.
The Spanish FR-8 is interesting because so many of those were imported to the United States and reconfigured for the American market. And you'll find a lot of them over here, which is somewhat unusual for a rifle that doesn't have the marquee value of a World War I or a World War II surplus weapon from one of the major combatants.
The FR-8 had a 19-inch long barrel, 38 inches long overall, and the FR-8 is chambered in 7.62 NATO. The FR-7 is chambered for the earlier 7.62 SETMA cartridge, and the FR-8s can be fired with full power regular NATO ball ammunition. What they were trying to do was make the gun look, feel, and operate a little bit like the SETMA, but they do have the NATO grenade launching device on the front of the barrel. Back in the 1950s, the way that NATO thought they were going to stop hordes of Russian tanks rampaging across Europe was individual soldiers and their rifle grenades. So the rifle grenade training required of the Spanish soldiers and reservists could be conducted with the FR-8 rifle.
So what was neat about the FR-8 is, if you look at an FR-8 and you look at a rifle today, something like, say, for instance, the Ruger Scout rifle, you look at them and you say, kind of similar. The configuration is such that you have a short, handy bolt action, not box magazine fed, unfortunately, but it does have a hinged floor plate for removal of cartridges, and it does have a stripper clip guide in the receiver, so it can be fed with a 5-round stripper clip, and it does have, most importantly, a decent set of sights with reasonable sight radius, but you have a nice combination of features in a handy rifle.
The FR-8 is really one of the last of the Mauser designs, even though most of the guns were made during World War II and immediately thereafter. Here you have this era of the 1950s. These guns are converted to 7.62 and being issued to second-line troops and constabulary forces long after no one else is issuing a Mauser. The Mauser design reigned supreme in Europe from the 1890s until the end of World War II. But after World War II ended, the world knew that bolt-action rifles were not the way to go for a primary infantry arm. So that makes the FR-8 sort of the last holdout. of the issue Mauser, and they are commonly available on the surplus market. Typically, they don't ask a lot of money for them. This is a fairly modern design that has ammo you can readily find, and they kick a little bit, but they're pretty fun rifles. The great thing about the FR-8 is it's chambered in 7.62 NATO. You don't need to hunt for fancy ammunition. Anyhow, that's all the time that we have for this week. If you like the show and you're not an NRA member, you need to join right now. Go to AmericanRifleman.org and sign up. I'm Mark Keefe, and I'll see you next week right here on American Rifleman Television.